You know those big, thick annual reports companies put out? Have you ever tried to read one and just felt completely lost? They're packed with jargon and numbers, and it's tough to figure out what's actually going on. Well, today, we're going to change that. We're taking Cimory's 2024 annual report, and we're going to crack it wide open, turning it into a clear story that actually makes sense.
So, where do we start? Well, every report kicks off with the company's official story, and Cimory's is all about confidence. This quote right here from their board of commissioners sets a really optimistic tone right off the bat. It's them saying, "We had a great year and we're planning on doing it again." This isn't just a quote, it's the lens through which they want us to see everything else.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the story Cimory is telling. Then, we dive into the hard numbers to see if they back it up. After that, we'll find out what's really driving their growth, meet the people in charge, and then wrap it up by weighing the future risks and, of course, the rewards. Okay, first up, the big picture. This is the highlight reel. It's the story the leadership team wants everyone, investors, shareholders, you, to hear about their year. Now, what's so interesting here is how they frame it. They're not pretending it was a walk in the park. They're open about the challenges, a so-so economy, and more competition. But then they hit you with, but we still delivered a solid performance. It's a clever way of saying, yeah, it was tough out there, but look what we did anyway. It really sets the stage for the impressive numbers that are coming up. So that's the story they're telling. But what about the proof? Let's move on to the scorecard. The financials are where the talk ends and the facts begin. So let's see what they have to show for it. And wow, the first number we see is a real showstopper. Net profit jumped by 22.4%, hitting 1.52 trillion rupiah. To put it simply, after they paid all the bills, they made significantly more money than last year. That's a huge green flag for a company's health. And check this out. This wasn't just a one-time lucky break. This chart shows a clear, steady climb in their total income over the past 3 years. You can see it right there, just going up, up, up. That shows consistent, sustainable growth, which is exactly what you want to see. Okay, let's get into a couple of key ratios here. ROA, or return on assets, and ROE, which is return on equity. As you can see, both of them got better from 2023 to 2024. ROA tells us how good they are at using their stuff, factories, cash to make a profit. But ROE, that one's really the one to watch for investors. Let's make this ROE thing simple. Just think of it like a grade on a report card. It tells you how well the company uses money from shareholders to make even more money. Cimory's ROE climbed to 22.5%. In the investing world, that's an A+ grade. It means for every buck an investor put in, the company is making a really strong return on it. So the financial results are fantastic. We've established that. But the big question is, why? Where's all this growth actually coming from? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine. Okay, this chart gives us our first big clue. Cimory basically has two main parts to its business, dairy and consumer foods. And as you can see, consumer foods is the bigger piece of the pie here, raking in 5.2 trillion rupiah. But that's just part of the story. And here's where things get really interesting. Take a look at the growth rates. Dairy grew by a solid 6%. That's pretty good. But the consumer food side, it just exploded with 25% growth. So while both segments are important, it's pretty clear that consumer foods is the rocket fuel in Cimory's engine right now. It's the powerhouse. All right, great numbers, clear growth driver, but who's making all the decisions that led to this? To understand that, we need to look at the who, the company's leadership structure. This is super important for trusting a company long-term. Now, in Indonesia, companies like Cimory have what's called a two-tiered system. This might be a little different from what you're used to. It basically means there isn't just one board, there are two, and they each have a very specific job. One group manages the company, and the other group watches over the managers. It's all about checks and balances. So here's the simple breakdown. You've got the board of commissioners. Think of them as the supervisors or the coaches. Their job is to oversee, advise, and make sure everything's on track for the shareholders. Then you have the board of directors. They're the players on the field, running the company day to day, managing everything, and making the strategy happen. Okay, so we know who's steering the ship. For our last section, let's look ahead. What's on the horizon? Every business has to deal with potential risks and, hopefully, potential rewards. Let's see what the company itself is looking at. Now, before we get into their plans, you'll see this phrase a lot in reports, forward-looking statements. This is just some important legal stuff.
It's basically the company saying, hey, here are our goals and what we think will happen. But please remember, these aren't promises. The future's unpredictable, you know?
And here are some of those what ifs they're already thinking about. The company knows it's in a tough market with a ton of competition. They also know that what people want to buy can change fast. But this isn't a bad thing. It's actually a sign of good management when a company is realistic about the challenges ahead.
But hey, with risk comes the shot at a reward. And this is a very real, very tangible reward. In May 2024, Cimory paid out over 714 billion rupiah in cash dividends. A dividend is just the company sharing a slice of its profits directly with its investors. This shows their success isn't just numbers on a page, it's actual money going back to the people who own the company.
So there you have it. An annual report isn't just a boring document full of numbers, it's a story. We've seen Cimory's story of tackling challenges, getting fantastic results, and having a clear engine for growth. The real question is, now that you know what to look for, the story, the numbers, the risks, and the rewards, what story will you uncover next?